Anyone, the review of minutes?
Madam Chair, I'll motion to approve the meeting minutes for September 4th, 2024.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Common victular license, public hearing. The Select Board received an application for a common victular license from Marie Sophie Maxey, doing business as Presto, to operate a restaurant business at 102 High Street in Clinton. Is anyone here from that business? Okay. This being a public hearing, I'll ask that anyone in favor of this license, please step forward. We'll close this portion of the hearing. Anyone speaking against this license in opposition, please step forward. Okay, we'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any discussion on this?
Madam Chair, seeing as I think this is just a change in location
Yeah.
for an existing business, I'm going to move that we approve the common victual license for Marie Sophie Maxey, doing business as Presto at 102 High Street.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in?
Yep, sorry. I'm glad she's moving to a location she likes, and I'm glad she's still in town.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Now we have Marie Letarte with an update on the library construction grant. Please, if you don't mind stating your name, your title.
Marie Letarte, Director of the Bigelow Library. I'm just giving an update because, as you know, the town applied for a public library construction grant through the state, and they were supposed to make the announcement tomorrow, but they have delayed it until after the December 31st deadline for MBTA communities. So although we are not an MBTA community, the rest of the MBTA communities have to vote to accept the MBTA Communities Act or not. There's nothing we can do, it's just to let you know that it is delayed and you won't hear anything for 3 months.
Okay. Gotcha. We don't have to.
You don't have to do
Worry
anything,
about
you just,
anything
we're just waiting. I know
Yeah.
everyone has enough things to wait for and do, and nobody's thinking about it. But I'm thinking about it, and I want it to be somewhere in your minds to remember that it is actually happening. And then I will come back when I have any information.
Gotcha. Any reason for the delay?
The delay is that they have to wait for the votes.
Oh, okay.
And the deadline is December 31st. So they don't want to make the announcements and then find out they made an award to a community that actually is no longer eligible
Okay.
because they now tied the bond to the MBTA Communities Act to kind of force towns to pass it.
Well, thank you for the update. Appreciate
Okay,
it.
and that's all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. American Rescue Plan Act discussion and recommendations. I did put this on the agenda because we are on, we got about 12 more weeks before we have to have our ARPA allocation, everything under contract, although we don't have to spend it until 2026. But we do have two either clarifications or proposals, so why don't we listen to those first? Chief?
Chief.
Thanks.
Well, Michael Lewis, the fire chief. So one thing just to start, that my original intent to come up was to kind of update the package with regards to what I already requested, meaning the paramedic fly car, the monitor, and all that. That being said, I've been working with McGovern Municipal Group. We're having some issues on getting an accurate price for the locking the vault in the back. So rather than try to rush it, I figured I would just kind of get on the next agenda for that once we have an accurate number. So that's why that's not in here, but I've already requested, I believe it's 150,000 for that. So if you open up, the very first section of this is the monitor. So the monitor, in the original money that I requested, one monitor is already part of that. This price here, 135,000 and some change, is one monitor is $67,853.86. So that's one of the things I'm asking for, is one more monitor. I put it in my budget, it got cut out of my budget, so I figured I might as well bring it here and try to get the second monitor. So that's the first part.
Excuse me,
Go
Madam
ahead,
Chair.
Sean.
Can
Yeah.
you just tell me what the monitor is?
Yeah,
What
Heart
is it?
sorry.
monitor.
Heart monitor.
The heart monitor for the paramedics, yeah.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
And is that
So-
under pending, Michael, or complete, or that's pending, right? I'm just trying to follow.
Well, you had one approved, right, Matt?
Right,
Mary Rose, I had the EMS jackets approved. I
No, I
had,
mean, in the budget. You said that the finance
the
committee didn't
they
approve.
financed the funding for the paramedics. They didn't fund the monitor.
Oh, okay.
And I kind of asked and I, you know.
Okay,
the
so you
money-
don't have a monitor? Oh, okay.
Not yet, nope.
I'm sorry, Madam Chairman.
no, that's okay. So this is a new request?
New request.
Okay.
Yeah, new request.
Gotcha.
To add, so it would be to add 67,853.86 onto it, to get to finance the second monitor.
Okay.
So I guess to go back, you say a second monitor. So
Yeah, 'cause-
where's the first?
Yeah.
So
Is that
the-
still in the department?
No, the ARPA money, I already requested that on another request.
Okay,
So what happened was, I originally requested that, and then I put in my budget for the second one. It didn't, the money didn't get appropriated for my budget, so I decided to ask for the second monitor to go with, you know, instead of asking for one, which I already did, make it two. That's all. Because it wasn't
is
funded.
that, would that be considered the paramedic equipment?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Can I just ask you, Mike, why did the finance committee not approve it?
I'm not sure. Mary Rose,
They didn't give you any reason, they just,
No, no. But all the other stuff as far as the pay and all that got approved, but the monitor didn't. So I figured, you know, for the money, at least it can't hurt to ask. You know?
Maybe I don't have that. Is that in here? I'm looking at something that's
So-
totaling 135.
Right.
And then some Motorola stuff.
And I have.
No, the first section, the
360.
first section is what your fingers are on the top.
Yeah.
That's the monitors. It's 135,707. So half of that was already requested in the first request with the paramedic fly car. And the additional second monitor, the total is 67,853.86. So that's just an additional. And I'm not asking for another 135,000 in that. So I'm only asking for half that, because this is just a quote for the two total. So I have a totally accurate quote,
I gotcha.
that's all.
Okay, we've already approved one. This is
Yeah.
you're looking for a second one. But it's, okay.
Well, I think the first one was requested. I
Correct.
don't know if it's been actually approved.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's kind of standstill while we're working through the
Right.
paramedic program. Correct, Michael?
Okay. I guess I have it under pending.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yep.
there's a requested amount for paramedic fly car, rooftop unit, building study was all 360,000 total that you had asked
Yeah.
for. 95 was allocated, and you've spent
Oh.
about 78 of that. That might be for the rooftop unit, I think,
Yeah.
but 78, so, you know, how much more of that is it adding to the 360, or is the 360 gonna include what you're asking for?
I'm trying to figure out where the 360 is, Michael, because, so, the fire department gear was funded, I want to say 115,000-ish.
Yeah, well, there was 100 and then additional 9.
The 9 was for the EMS jackets.
Right.
That's all done, both of those, that's done.
Yeah.
So go ahead,
Yep, so those are separate lines.
yep,
So paramedic equipment, fly car, rooftop units, and there was talk about maybe doing a study of turning the former fire station into a
correct, yeah.
paramedic station. All of that totaled 360. So we'd have to see if,
Yeah, I'm trying to think, because I want to say the paramedic fly car originally request was about 139.
okay,
I remember.
all right.
That sounds
I
about.
And I
thought
think
it was
95 was
115,
given
but
for
I
the,
thought it was 115.
I think with the monitor and everything, it was.
Oh, you mean
that-
with all the equipment on it?
Yes, yeah.
The vehicle itself, 115, right?
yeah.
The vehicle itself, and then the radios, the vault, I'd have to really sit down and look. So, Mike, I'm gonna have to look at that to see
Yeah,
what you
so,
have,
so,
what you
no,
have.
yeah, so we just want to make
Yep,
sure that if there's,
100%.
if there's 360 being held,
Yep.
that this isn't going to hold another amount of money. It might be able to be included in that
Correct.
line, that same line.
Correct.
Okay, all right,
So
thank you.
Okay.
we'll just look at that, because the rooftop units for the fire department went through Brian.
Right, but that went through that line item. I think it was 95 was released and
Okay.
about 78 or in change was actually spent on, right?
Okay.
For the fire department rooftop unit.
Correct, there's 95,000 windows, rooftop unit,
Okay.
and that was on the line, and that was approved.
Yeah, but that's still under that line, out of that 360. So 95 was for windows
Okay.
and the rooftop
So
unit.
that, what does that make what has left?
Right, so that's 60, 35, so it's 265. So 265 would still be left to see what you would need out of that allotment.
Wow.
Oh, I'm sorry,
So there's 115 right there, Michael.
Yep, that's on a separate line.
Oh, that's on
That was put in
I'm
separately,
just trying to think about where those numbers are.
yeah.
I'll
But it
go- I'll
would
have to walk
include,
that
I
with
think
Mike.
that would
Right,
include
can
a car,
we-
your
yeah,
car,
do you
your
guys mind-
monitors. Yeah,
Like, maybe taking this offline and just,
Yeah, we
I'm
can,
sure it's in here
Yeah.
somewhere, but it's
we can,
super
but-
confusing.
That's fine. So why don't we just go through the initial, the additional request, and then the reasoning behind it?
The heart monitor?
No, the rest of what's in there, in your packet, which is radios.
All right, so we have new requests coming in now.
Yes. And then I'll review that with Michael. So back in, when we purchased all of our radios, we've used our radios have been extremely good to us. The firefighters use a 6,000 series radio, the officers use a 7,000 series and an 8,000. Basically, what the biggest difference is the interoperability, being able to speak to the police. That's the biggest difference on the radio. So I've serviced these radios, taken care of them, but now the 6,000 series, which is the two colored ones, they're at their end of life. So end of life means that you can use them, you work, but when they break, Motorola is no longer gonna provide service, any updates, nothing, zero. So they're done. So you basically have a radio that you have to throw away because once it breaks. So I just recently purchased a couple of the 8,000s just because, if anything happens, my guys need a radio. So I purchased them out of my budget. So then I said, well, maybe, subject to, again, money, if I had known this a while back, I would have brought this up right away. So we looked at replacing 25 of them for all the firefighters. So if you look on the bottom, the total is $207,661.75. Right above that is, I highlighted in orange, that's 3217.25 is something that we do not need. We didn't realize it until just recently. So the actual price goes down a little bit. It's $204,444.50 to replace our radios. That way, when these radios start failing, we will have radios to issue to the firefighters. And like I said, this just recently got brought to my attention because I've taken care of the radios, I service the radios. Behind us is Richard Baker and firefighter Mike Sislak, these two of my firefighters. They were the ones that kind of said, hey, chief, we can't fix these anymore. I had no knowledge of it. So I says, if there's money, fine. If there's half the money, then I'll try to budget the rest. But I just figured it cannot hurt to at least ask.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can these talk to the police?
Yes.
The new radios?
Yep, absolutely. All of them, 100% all of them, yeah. And because I'm not looking for an answer by any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
I'm just bringing it to your attention that like,
Yeah.
so that Michael and I will talk and figure out that money there. I'll get an accurate number for the fly car, the one, one monitor, adding the other monitor to it. But the additional request is definitely the monitor. But as Michael was just alluding to, there could be more money than I thought left in what was allotted, because, I gotta sit and go look at my records to see what he has and what I have, which
Yeah.
is easy to do.
That would be great,
Yeah.
because I think we're gonna have this as a topic continuously.
Yeah.
So I think it's just more, we're just trying to really understand, like, what's been allocated,
Yeah.
what's done, what's left over,
Yeah.
what do we have to decide, so.
And then I was talking to Michael, within probably, I would say, 4 or 5 weeks, I should have an idea of what I'm gonna have left for SEMA money, because I'm probably gonna have a little bit of SEMA money left over.
Yeah.
To go, I know you're looking for that, so I'm just trying to, I've been working hard to get those jobs done, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
Madam Chairman?
Yeah.
Mike, what's the turnaround time for the radios?
For the
Let's
radios.
just say that, the board approved it as an additional offer.
So basically, it's a long process as far as like the paperwork process, because of the pandemic,
Yeah, yeah.
believe it or not, because of the pandemic. But I can't imagine it's, I don't know, I'm gonna take a guess, because I truly don't know. Let me,
6 months.
there you go, because we just ordered a couple, and they kind of paid attention to tracking them, not me,
Yeah.
so 6
they
months.
know. Okay.
Just like I said, at least ask, because it's not cheap, it's a lot of money, but, I've already purchased a couple, and then we'll use those as spares, and then we'll get everybody radios, and the officers' radios are all up that level already, so they'll last for longer.
Honestly speaking, I would support it,
Yeah.
because I think that
Yeah.
if we have this money, it's a one-time deal. If we upgraded the police, it makes sense to do it with the fire, and so that everybody's all on the
Yeah.
same page, so.
Definitely.
Yeah, I just feel like some of this is, I'm not opposed to it, but
Yeah.
to like,
Number-wise.
the numbers we
No,
have,
no,
are
no,
like,
no,
I
no,
feel a
no.
little
I'm
bit
just saying
conceptually.
concept, I think.
Yeah,
if we're-
conceptually,
you
yeah.
know,
All right, sounds good. Then, like I said, I'll get with you, Mike, and we'll
Yeah,
kind of
let's-
check on those other numbers, because I gotta really look at what they are. It's been a while.
Yeah, that would be helpful, because I
Perfect.
think we have found that there have been some like completed projects
Yep.
that came in under, that we have money for, so it would be good to try to figure out, we're just trying to
And
sharpen
just
our
like,
pencil
like
here.
I was alluding to, when Michael asked me what was left for SEMA, I'm
Yeah.
like running 5 pumps at a time to Schofields, picking them up, paying for them, and they're not as high as I thought they'd be. So, but I still have like 15 of them more to go up there. So I'm trying to, when they call, I switch them. I'm not playing it, I'm switching.
Oh, no.
But it's just the issue of like, I don't wanna say I have this when I don't have this, or you know what I'm saying? I wanna be accurate.
Yeah,
And
no,
I'm trying to.
I appreciate that, I'm just we're keeping it on the agenda, it
Yeah,
just has to
yeah.
be kind of wrapped up by the end of the year, so.
Yeah, sounds good.
We won't
Thank-
spend everything, so we
Yeah,
just
that's what
want
I'm
to make
saying.
sure if there's any.
We don't
it
want
all
to leave like
adds up.
a
We
dime
don't wanna
on the
leave any-
table, so,
Sounds good, thank you.
thanks.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Brian, you wanna come up next?
Good evening. Brian Farrader, Facilities Director. I was told that everyone has a spreadsheet. I don't know. I have a paper copy if anyone needs one.
The one with the yellow on
Yeah.
on your desk, yeah. It should have yellow highlight on it.
So I am here for a couple new requests, but I'll talk through the spreadsheet real quick, just so you know what you're looking at. The top kind of bracket, the top two, we have the windows, we have the RT, the rooftop unit, the split units, filters for the middle school. That was already approved by the board. As you can see, we have spent 100% of the filters, AC unit and split unit, the initial request from our department. So we do have a balance of 0 there. As far as the windows for the fire station and the rooftop unit for the fire station, we put a deposit down for the windows that started the process for them, for the ordering process, and the timeline as to when we should be receiving them. So that has been spent, but based on the final quotes that we got, and pricing, we do have a excess of about $17,000 from that approved request, that can go back into the fund or however we want to do that, but we didn't overspend that particular item.
Is that the windows?
That would be the fire station windows,
Okay.
and the rooftop, HVAC unit for the fire station. That, I
Okay.
did find out today, because we haven't spent any money, as far as that particular portion, but, October 21st is when they're scheduled to, switch out the unit that's there with the new unit, so I'm assuming that would be billed fairly, by the end of the month, so.
Okay.
And that is $28,000, so with all that being said, we're still at the 17,000 that is kind of left over from those two requests.
Okay.
And that's just pricing coming in lower than what was anticipated, so. The highlighted items are all items that I presented to the board that was under review. So that's the total amount in the 4 particular projects: tennis courts, track repairs, garage doors for the fire station. And I put the skate park on. I don't know if that's, should be allocated to the Parks and Rec, but I'm assuming it would fall under our department, so I did include that. So there shouldn't be 2 requests, one from the parks and one from facilities, so that would just be $45,000 for skate park repairs. Why I wanted to come here tonight is for the new requests, and the reasoning is kind of the time crunch that we have by the end of December, and these are kind of big ticket items that will need to go out to bid. It will take some time to get the paperwork together, and then if we want to have a contract awarded to meet that timeline, I wouldn't say we're in crunch time yet, but I'm trying to be a little bit proactive with it. So I did want to bring it to your attention tonight, just so you know kind of where we're at and kind of the thought process behind it. So the big ticket item is the HVAC, the chiller for the high school and the chiller for the chiller unit for the elementary school. And 2 things. We have a warrant article that was approved 2 years ago with $358,000 left, and that was for HVAC repairs and a replacement chiller. That I'm not touching for any repairs anymore, because I don't want to deplete that and then not have enough funds to actually do the chiller. The reason for the wait is there was huge lead times, prices were very high. The recommendation was we can get by with what we have currently, but we're getting to a point where as things are breaking down, the lifespan of that machinery, we can't source parts for it. So we're not in a problem area yet, but we're getting there. As things are breaking down, we're unable to repair. So now's the time with that funding. I'm looking to supplement with ARPA funds to get to where we need to be. I don't have any written quotes for you. I have a verbal quote from Enhanced Mechanical that does a lot of our HVAC repairs in the schools and the town. And they're saying both units, each separately, would be about a $450,000 replacement. That's removing the unit, putting in a new unit, tied it into the current systems. The project scope is similar at both locations, but it's pricey. So with the warrant article, I'm requesting $100,000 to get us to right around the $450 to go out to bid, and that would cover the elementary school. With the high school, we're running into a similar issue with control panels are failing. They're not making those panels. They're seeing if something's compatible to what we have, so it's a short-term fix, but it won't be a long-term fix. And the capacity of the school, if we ever wanted to add, let's say, air conditioning to the gym, right now, the current chiller, as it's running, cannot meet that capacity. So that's kind of ground zero, where we can do a lot of repairs inside. If we don't fix that problem, it's not gonna really matter, right? With that being said, the school applied for a federal grant, and I believe the town was awarded like $357,000. It was in my budget, kind of right up. Some of that will need to go to like an engineering firm to like write the specs to go out to bid. That's what kind of the step one of how they want that money spent. So we reached out, Annette with the school system was saying, if we replace the chiller, will that qualify? Will the grant cover that? And they responded yes. So with that, I took some money down, so I have $320,000. So I was asking for $130,000 to get us to that 450 mark, if that makes sense. I know this is a lot of information. While I'm here, I did have some, and we're talking HVAC, I had a company look at the vents and ductwork at the town hall. I got a price for like cleaning the vents, blowing them out, making sure that I don't think it's ever been done, or hasn't been done since I've been here. I don't wanna say that. But that came in at about $25,000. That was about 6 months ago. We didn't move on it. It was a little bit pricey. And with that being said, we need 2 additional quotes. So long story short, the 3 items is about $260,000 for HVAC repairs, 2 chiller replacements for the school, and ductwork and vent cleaning at the town hall. If anyone, I know there's a lot. And I hope
Well,
I
the
didn't-
way you laid it out is very helpful, because once
Yeah.
once we kind of, as you're,
I wanted to show that
Explain.
there is money, there's about 75% of the money, at least for the elementary school, in a warrant article right now. So to complete that project for $450,000, and it could come in lower, they just gave me a ballpark. They weren't able to put anything on paper yet, so it might not even be the 450, but to be safe, he said, the high school, I think, unit could be a little smaller, so that might come in a little lower, right? So, but I wanted to make sure that the grant itself expires the same time ARPA does, so I didn't want to lose that $350,000. So if we could supplement that to make sure if we go out to bid, we're not gonna have to reject it because we don't have the funds, right? And that was kind of the thought process behind it.
just based on the sensitivity of time and also the purpose, to how it would impact the air quality and the working conditions, whether it's in the town hall or whether the school system, and where everything, seems like we're running out of Band-Aids. See, right?
The high school's in tough shape right now. I'm a little concerned with, not now with the time of year, we're gonna be changing over to heat, but they are calling factories and looking to get a control panel to make sure that when we start up in April or May, whenever the weather changes,
Right.
we're able to put that chiller on.
Based upon the use, the need, and the timeline, I'd make a motion to approve the request for the $260,000 for the elementary school chiller, the high school chiller, and the town hall vent cleaning.
I'll second that.
These are original chillers?
They are
from when
original,
they-
so we're coming on
Yeah.
about 22, 23 years on each building. They say the lifespan with the air-cooled chiller, that's kind of what's there and what's gonna be replaced with,
Yeah.
is about 15 to 20 years. And right now, we have PM plans in place that could probably stretch that out to 20 to 25 potentially. So it is something that once we, it's kind of the last big ticket item that, from the original buildings in a way. We've done boiler repairs, and replacements, but these are kind of on their last leg from 2021, 2022, when the buildings were built. So the hope is to get these replaced, get them on an annual maintenance plan, and then not worry about them for the next 20 to 25 years. And that's kind of the game plan.
Well, as discussion, I think anytime you're thinking of children and you're thinking about clean air and as well as the people who work in this building,
Yeah,
I think it's
the staff,
imperative that
yeah.
you make sure that everything is the way it should be, and that you're not into any kind of a safety hazard. And if the money's there, I would say, why shouldn't we do it?
I agree. And again, another thing too that came up from talking to Enhanced Mechanical Architects is with a lot of summer programs and the use of the gyms in the middle school, well, not the middle school, but the elementary school and the high school, we can't really add anything to the current equipment, right? So if we get a new chiller with the capacity to maybe expand, if needed, maybe we can add AC in the gymnasium, so all the summer camps and the Parks and Rec and all that stuff have a comfortable place to be. Now that we're using the schools pretty much all summer long, it's a place to escape from outside, so. that's another thought that came into it, so.
I'd have to imagine these units too are probably more energy efficient than they were.
Yeah, I believe, they definitely will be. They may even be smaller too, so the footprint of what's there, we may not need the entire, if you go by the high school, that big lugging machine in the corner by the dumpster, and then even behind the old fire station. The thought is, they can tie into the current systems, but they might not need the complete footprint. We have it there if they need it. I don't think, it won't be bigger than what's there, so that's always, that's not a bad thing.
Any additional questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thanks for making him last as long as you did.
So just while we have them in front of
Yeah, I guess.
us.
Sure.
So as far as, so have the garage doors at the fire department, they have been done or they have not been done?
As far as,
So one of the, you have, one of the requests came in for the garage door
yeah,
replacement.
so the tennis courts, I think the garage door is in that yellow box in the
Yeah.
middle. So all of those have been presented but not yet approved.
Okay.
So those are still pending.
And then as far as the tennis courts, the track repairs, the doors, I understand on the skate park will have updates. But are these 3 items, are they, any of them time sensitive?
So
or-
I would say the tennis courts, based on pricing, tennis courts and the garage doors would have to go out to bid based on the pricing. The track repairs, I'm waiting on a couple companies, because I don't know if that money is gonna be, I don't know if it's a one repair bulk job, or if it's, we're gonna do this section, that section, but then we come into the timeline too, as to, I don't know if it's gonna have to go out to bid, that's my
Yeah.
point. It most likely will, so I would say anything that has to go out to bid, and Mike, you know more than I do, but it is time consuming, and, those would be the kind of the priority ones. The skate park, based on the request, whatever work's gonna be going on down there would require 3 bids that could be made in a day with a phone call, so, that one, I think, we could wait on that, and then, come even December, we have a week to spend that, based on what they wanna do. We could do all the legwork and then pull the trigger right away without having to go to the newspaper and then solicit bids and wait, give them time to come in.
And these requests are already reflected in that spreadsheet, is that correct?
Yeah,
Yeah,
those
they-
are already in here.
Yeah, they do have their own lines, allocations, yeah.
So based upon the timing, bidding process, and then the facility director expressing these being priority items on that request, then I'm gonna make a request. I'll make a motion to approve the tennis court repairs of $75,000 and the garage door replacement at the Clinton Fire Department for $95,000.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right,
And then we'll just
and, yeah,
hear back
we're
from you.
gonna,
Yeah,
Tighten up
that'd be
our-
great. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks.
Michael, anything on here that we know is not gonna happen?
No, in terms of, I mean,
Culvert, maybe?
oh yeah, some of the things that probably we won't be going forward, I would say that culvert cap, I think that's gonna be a big project. 400,000 was just a placeholder. I don't even know if that's gonna be enough. And it would take a whole design and bidding and be a large project. So I don't believe there's opportunity to do that in the time frame that's left. So,
Okay,
so that would probably be the big one.
Yeah.
Just a quick question on that.
yeah,
So even though this has to be, it has to be under contract, so when you say that the timing, so basically, as you go and you're sourcing, everything needed for it, it wouldn't be under contract by December, is that what the
Right, because you would need to
Understood.
hire an engineer to do a design, and then
Gotcha.
then they would have to go out to bid, and then to sign a contract, so the design and bidding probably would take more than 8 weeks. I would think,
Understood,
yeah.
okay.
You know, we probably do need to look at that water line, because that is something that's gonna move forward. It's been totally designed, but it hasn't gone out to bid, because the housing authority hasn't been able to get a price, a bid price for the sprinkler part. So I guess the question would be, do we put it out to bid and get it under contract? And then do it? Then it gives time to have the housing authority get their piece, or do we just do it and then have a hookup ready for the sprinkler system once it's in place? So that can go out to bid right away on that, but I think that's already approved. I think the board had already, I
Yeah,
think
we
had
did.
already
Early on.
offered that, so.
Yeah.
So I think we need to talk to the engineer about maybe at least accepting bids, going out to advertise for bids, and then see what we get for pricing on that, so we can try to get a contract on that. But again, you'll see how long we can hold the contract, when the work would be done. But that, I talked last week with the Housing Authority Director, and they've had to rebid several times. They've had to change the scope, they had to get more funding, and I guess it's going out to rebid again. So I think this is like the third time, so they're trying to get something that works within their project scope, so. And all we're doing is hooking up the water to get it to them, but they're doing the sprinkler system part, so. So I think so we can move forward on that.
Emergency fuel assistance, is that back on track?
Which one?
The emergency fuel assistance that we approved in,
Yes, Mr. Duffy is
23.
working with Mock to see if they can administer it. There was questions on whether the town would buy oil, or if wheat, we'd have to probably go out to bid if wheat was going to do it. But Mock is a authorized intergovernmental agency that we could have an agreement with them. So Mr. Duffy is meeting with them to see if they could run the program. Or it could be, you know, some could be given to the senior center if you wanted to split out, you know, and allocate some for seniors and have them allocated, or just have Mock do everything with the parameters of, you know, of income and seniors. So that's, so he's working on making sure that's in place for the upcoming season.
sorry, what's mock
Just,
mean?
just one question. One of the first ones we did too as well was, we gave money to, I thought Council on Aging, was that for electrical, electricity? I forget what we gave it for now.
No, I think it's the same one.
Yeah, I think
I thought
that
it
was
was-
all part of that same,
Was it,
the
oh,
whole
well,
project.
I thought they were running the program,
I thought so too.
the Council on Aging,
Yeah.
because I thought the request came from Debbie, the director.
I don't know, Phil, I went back to look at the meeting, Phil proposed it under like the town, but
Right.
it was kind of left with like, we'll see if the senior center can distribute it.
Hmm.
And I thought they were working with the assistant town administrator to pull together a program.
Yeah, I know
I
they
guess-
were all working on, those three offices were working together with the Assistant Town Administrator, Senior Center, and Economic Development, but I know there was, you know, the Assistant Town Administrator questions on procurement and bidding and how to go about doing it, and I don't believe that was resolved before the heating season had ended. But I thought there was some talk of this, of not just for seniors, I thought it was gonna be for low income, some
Well,
seniors.
anybody who
but then-
qualified, I think.
Yeah,
I think
qualified,
there was
yeah.
a guideline, but,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so in other words, none of that money was ever spent?
Right,
Oh,
Right.
well, that's a shame,
yeah,
because I think that was the very first thing that we approved.
Yeah, it'll be 2 years
Oh, that's too
in
bad.
January.
Well, I hope they get that resolved. I mean, that's,
yeah. Because I think initially, through the Assistant Town Administrator, they were talking about the town purchasing the oil, and I said, that's gonna be too complicated for the town. And then we, you know, asked them to look into maybe being able to give vouchers for the residents to be able to purchase it. And then there was talk about having Wheat administer a program with the senior center and Wheat doing it together, because I think Wheat were in those meetings with them as well, too. I wasn't involved in that, but I think Wheat and the senior center, those try to talk, some, having both of them try to administer it as well, too. So I know there was a lot of complications on how to legally get the money to private individuals, So I'll talk to Mr. Duffy tomorrow and find out, where he's headed with it. I know he was looking at the Montezut Opportunity Council, which we're a member. They're the ones that do the Meals on Wheels and those different programs. They're an authorized government agency for distribution of funds, so they do the federal and state fuel assistance programs, the Meals on Wheels for the federal monies. So we're allowed to have an agreement with them in order to distribute the money, but the question was, who else would be an eligible entity to be able to do that, so. And I think, my opinion is, I think maybe the senior center probably would be eligible if you wanted if they wanted them to oversee the whole 50,000. But it would have to be guidelines that it's for the whole community, or did you want it just for senior citizens, so.
Well, I guess here's the thing. We have 12 weeks to put it under contract. What does that mean? I mean, it's been 18-plus months since we approved it. Now we're kind of, like, does it have to, I keep saying, like, what does under contract really mean? Like, is it under contract with Mock?
Well, I think
What-
if you had an agreement with an agency to distribute it, you would just have to have that agreement in place. So the money wouldn't have to be distributed by that, but just have an agreement as to who is going to be the legal entity that could allocate the funds.
So Phil is gonna,
Yeah, I know Phil has been working on it the last 2 weeks, so I'll get an update from him as to where it's at. But the plan was to have something in place ready to advertise for this heating season, so.
yes.
Can I just throw, are we able
I think we're
Moving on from
past
that one?
Emergency fuel, yeah.
All right, so, just on the spreadsheet alone, so there's a couple things on the balances that I'm just trying to decipher. So like with the SEMA supplies, it says, the amount requested was 200,000, 80,000 was allocated, the remaining balance was 80,000. So
They haven't spent any.
right, so then, when you look down below at what's available, what's unallocated, unspent, is that number the correct number, right? So if they requested 200, and they've allocated 80, shouldn't the remaining balance be like 120?
They haven't spent anything, though. So I think we gave them 80, they haven't spent anything, so they have 80 left.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
haven't
They
spent
asked for it.
anything, Sean?
Huh?
They haven't spent anything?
Well, according to this. I don't know.
According to this,
Yeah.
yeah. but I didn't
Yeah.
hear- Well, that's what I mean, we're just,
Yeah,
I don't
no,
know.
Yeah.
they-
we don't have any update from them?
Well, I
It
think
was
the
a year
chief
ago.
mentioned that tonight. I
giving
think
away
he had
money.
mentioned that all of the other allocations he had gotten, he had spent, but he was still working on the SEMA. So he didn't have a number for me. I think he had
Okay.
made some expenditures,
Okay.
but not all of them. I think he had mentioned tonight that he still has more that he's working on, and he said in a couple of weeks, he'll have a definite number as to what is going to be left over in the next couple of weeks, so. So that's why I just put 0, because he couldn't give me a number, so I just put 0. But I think some of it has been spent, but not, he didn't give me a number, so I just put 0 until he got back to me with more information.
So like even with like the HVAC townwide, so 410 was requested, and then 80,000 allocated, 71,500 has been spent. So what I'm trying to wrap my head around, so the amount being requested, as we see, is just over 5 million. That number doesn't impact what we have as being remaining or anything. That's just like, these are all the numbers that came in.
Right, exactly. Yeah, if you see down at the bottom of the summary, the first is the total amount that we received. The second is that second column as to how much
Yeah.
that the board approved to go forward with.
Understood, okay.
Yeah, so then the third line matches up with the, of subtracting the first and second columns, so.
Okay,
I'm sorry, the
Second,
the second column minus what we had for money.
perfect.
So the
Okay.
4.1 minus 3 leaves the 1.176.
All right, and
And
then,
then the bottom one was just an update, just to say, of the money that has been approved by the board, of that 3 million that's been approved, 1.2 million still hasn't been spent. But it's really the 1,176,606 number that you're really focusing on.
okay, and, all right, and then just to, just bear with me, and I'll plow through this. So the library Wi-Fi improvements, they requested the 25,000, but that should have been included in
Yeah.
the other, right?
Exactly, that's wrapped into the 230, yep.
All
that's
right,
why
and
that-
then, just based on, so Chief Coyne had, sent the email, to Mr. Ward, regarding the purchasing of the portable radios, and which came to, $245,000, just to round up. And with the remaining amount that was requested of is 360, they've identified, a need for the Public Safety Dispatch Center that would upgrade the dispatch radio console. So the project is 168,000, and they still have 130,000 remaining. So I'm gonna make a motion to approve $38,000 for Chief Coyne to upgrade the dispatch radio consoles, as he stated in his email, for the Public Safety Dispatch Center.
I'll second that. So you're taking what he didn't spend for the radio and then just adding from the 168?
Exactly, that's exactly what he
Yeah.
laid out.
Yeah.
Is that the dispatch center new fire department server?
That I do not believe is part of there, I think, because we did approve that piece of it,
Okay.
but it just says here, there's another project, radio project that we'd like to consider. And this was just as of October 2nd, so, and basically the project would, benefit the personnel in the dispatch center as well as communication with police and fire departments. So for no,
So that's a
new
new
console.
request?
Yeah, that just came in today. He
Yeah.
just sent that over to me today,
Consoles.
so.
can I just get clarification? I'm
Yeah.
seeing 167 and change here.
Correct.
Yeah, but he had money left over from the radios.
So I guess that's what
Is
I'm
that-
wondering. These
yeah.
remaining balances, is that like, are they still spending
No, I
or
think
no?
they're done.
We're all done?
Yeah.
Okay, so all that's, so we've got 1.2 million coming back?
Yeah.
Or that's just, some of them haven't gotten going yet? Like wheat
Yeah,
hasn't
no,
gotten
1.2
going
million
yet?
that hasn't been spent, including that, but it's all these other allocations from column 2 that have not yet been spent is 1.2 million.
But those are all set, like, we don't have to get contracts for those, like, that's checked off? Or are we gonna have 1.2 million burning a hole in our pocket in a month?
Some of those don't have agreements in place, no.
Well, and some of these things are still, they're not even pending. We haven't even, well, the auditorium shares, we haven't even discussed that. And then there was some other stuff that we really haven't.
No, so I actually have one that I've just taken this information, and put it in my own spreadsheet that sorts it by like completed, so those are done, and then whatever's remaining, and then pending, and then unallocated. Is this an Excel? Is this an Excel file?
Yes.
Okay. Can you circulate it to everybody on the board? And then they can like sort it however it makes sense to them, whether they want to sort it by like area or by status, so that you're able to kind of take a look and see, because I mean, there's also like in completed, it looks like in some of these completed, like the business recovery grant program, it's complete, but it has a remaining balance of 61,000. And then for the business safety net program, it's complete, but it has a remaining balance of 22,000. So that's $83,000 that it's done. We know we have $83,000 left. So maybe we can just like kind of work with this, I mean,
Yeah, that'll have
It
to
would be
be,
great if this
that'll
were
have to be
cloud-based.
quote unquote cashed out into the unallocated account.
okay, so
now,
that's in
yep.
unallocated.
Yep, that'll move into the unallocated, yep.
Which was 1.1 before
Yeah,
tonight.
Right, so from that unallocated, like the 400 and some thousand that you just approved,
yeah,
38,000, that would come, that would reduce that 1176.
Right.
Well, not really, because we just cut out the 400, so we're really basically back to the same amount.
right,
Right.
Yeah, you gotta add that.
Yeah.
yeah. All right, do we want to kind of,
Well, I think this one, Matt's
yeah,
thing is on the
Yeah.
table.
maybe after that one we can.
And so, sorry,
pause.
that's what I was, so where's that
Pause them.
number coming from? We're doing the math for him?
So you have, no, he included
know,
everything.
can
He was a
you-
very detailed email that,
Okay.
Is this
Sorry.
here?
this one right there, exactly.
Where are you seeing the 30, what'd you say, 38?
So, well, 167,696 minus 130,238.
Yeah, for us journalism majors, that's not, he didn't do the math there. You gotta show your work.
Well, I did the work for him, so
Okay,
it-
all right, so
that's where I
that's-
came up with, I rounded it up to 38.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any additional discussion?
Madam Chair, it doesn't have to be specific to this, but, Mike, can we just get a little bit of clarity on the benchmarks on this ARPA money and exactly like what we have to do? So like, the money before the end of this year, it has to be, the term I keep hearing is it has to be in an agreement. But not necessarily, but then like later on, there's deadlines for something being under contract. So,
Yeah, contract agreement, where there has to be some commitment of the funds to an entity. So there has to be, it can't be just, if the board votes to allocate X dollars,
Yeah.
and we move it into the next column, it has to go a step further. Because I guess the thought is, you can always change that, next year to something else. So if you moved it into the allocated column for these specific things, you now have to go and get a contract or an agreement or some entity
Yeah.
where you're legally committing the funds to them.
correct, I mean, that was kind of my understanding, I just want to make sure, like, I thought, like, the decision we have to make before the end of this year, it just handcuffs us to that, whatever we allocate that money for. That's all we can spend it for, and then we have 2 years after that to get contracts and to actually have the money spent?
And I think you have to have the contract. Because
Yeah, we-
then it will show, because any money as of December 31st of this year, you have 2 years to spend it. So say you contract with an architect or a construction company, and the project is going to take 18 months to build. You
Right.
have 2 years to finish the project, but you have to have, by December 31st, any money that's not under contract
Right.
has to get turned back to the federal government. So then any money that's under contract but not spent by 2026 gets turned back. So,
Right.
so you have to have some legal commitment with an entity that they're gonna spend that money over the next 2 years. So you can't just say, we're gonna give it to them. It's gotta be something that you're signing on the bottom line, so.
Okay, yeah, because that's, thank you, I just needed to, because I do have, yeah, a little bit of, I had some confusion about that, so, okay, thank you.
Yeah, so,
Okay, thanks.
so
right,
it's,
let's-
I know, and I don't know why they set that deadline. I mean, if it can be spent till until 2026, I don't know why they wouldn't give us till 2026 to use it, but whatever.
Sorry, I meant discussion on what we were voting on. Can we pause that for a second? Or is that your part of this discussion? Okay. So, all those in favor of the motion on the table?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. So, just to kind of talk about I just want to talk about a couple more pending things, is the modernization of cybersecurity and upgrading library Wi-Fi. That is all kind of in progress right now.
Right.
So we're expecting to spend that full amount. Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the Strand redevelopment, I know there's been conversations about it. Is that something that we can get up to speed on next meeting?
On
From
which
the
ones?
community of the Strand redevelopment,
Sure.
Madam Chair, so what would count as
like.
a commitment
contract.
there?
Yeah, because part of my questioning, Mike, was like, for like a project that's still, like, say if we had the money ready, but, right, some of these would have to be, there has to be like a bidding process, right? It's gonna be like a public bidding process for this.
Right.
So that would mean
Right.
like,
That's why the facilities director asked for his money tonight, right?
right, so that would mean like whatever money we wanted to spend would have to go out to bid and then have all the bids in and a decision made and everything before the end of this year.
Right.
Okay.
But something like the Strand, that wouldn't have to go to bid, correct? Because that's one of the ideas behind it was to allocate the money to the owner. So would that just require a contract with the owner versus?
Yeah, I think whatever proposal or idea comes up, I guess we'll review at that point what under agreement means according to the rule. You know, I've been reading up on it, still got a little ways to go to finish it, but they have given some specific guidance on what committed means and what you have to do, what's eligible, what's not eligible. It's about 600 pages, so
Yeah.
we've been kind of plugging through that to get more information.
Yeah.
And they do give examples, so hopefully, you know, if you come up with what that proposal is, then we'll see how it fits within the guideline.
Madam Chair, can I just make a request just for next meeting? Can you and legal counsel and the Director of Economic Development just get together and just give us a quick kind of summary on exactly what it is? Because I might be misunderstanding Phil, but I had some conversations with him where I thought he mentioned something about like an agreement before the end of this year, but then there was still more time for things to be put under contract, that we had, like, there was another benchmark for things to be under contract. So I just want, whatever it is, but I just would like to know.
Okay.
I mean, I have tried looking it up myself, but it's like a 400-page document and I get a headache. But
Right.
Phil is usually much more well-versed in that stuff than I am.
Yeah, I guess I just want it, like, to Sean's point, like, I don't want to leave any money on the table, so if there's, I guess, things that need to be kind of wrapped up, I mean, obviously, we've had completed projects, they haven't spent all the allocated money, that's money that we have, so, if we can just kind of keep this moving, and then, Mary, you said about the chairs.
Well,
like,
both the
do you-
chairs, and I
do
mean,
you
really,
need-
even if you want to go back to about the pandemic, you got to understand, we had a town meeting, and we actually were not safe in that town meeting because those chairs could not be separated. And new chairs, you would be able to do that. I mean, if, God forbid, in the future. But I mean, so as far as I'm concerned, that falls within the guidelines. I don't know, Michael, if you want to speak to that, but I mean, from my understanding of it, that
Yeah, the new rule came out, it became very broad. You know, early on, it was very restrictive, and then when they finalized the rule, that 400 pages, they did kind of get very broad. So I think it's many things that, if you want to use that type of argument, I think those are things that could fit into the scope of that type of use. But they did get, you know, very open as to how you can spend it, and I'm still plugging through all of it to make sure what's on this list will qualify, you know, so we just want to ensure that's all set, so.
I mean, there are hundreds and hundreds of those wooden chairs that are just scattered all throughout this town hall.
Yeah,
And I think anybody who's walked into that basement or the hallways or anything else, but I mean, it just seems to me that money, and again, I think the reasoning is if we don't utilize it, it's gonna go back. I mean, so
oh, yeah, for sure.
it's only to a benefit to the town. I mean, it's,
I agree with you, and I think that, you know, things like that where you only have to get,
Yeah, okay.
pricing on it, which could be done quickly.
Yeah.
Like, you know, anything that needs to go out to bid, I feel like we should probably move on it by next meeting.
Yeah,
And then, as we come down towards the end, then the, like chairs, things like that, we'll know exactly how much money's left, and we're gonna have to spend it.
Yeah, so with the action the board had tonight, we certainly can update this and then maybe highlight those projects that trigger a procurement process. So I think as facility director said, if it didn't be procurement, you could just take a week or two to get some bids and then you're good to go. But if you gotta go out to bid for a certain amount of time, get proposals and get a contract, you know, that's where it takes, 4 to 6, 6 weeks probably, instead of just 2,
Yeah, because you figure that process would have to at least be initiated by November 1st.
Right.
To have any shot, and then
Right.
you're running into the end of the new year, so probably even earlier than that.
Right.
okay. Is there any additional things someone would like to discuss regarding ARPA?
I foresee a great Christmas party in our future.
Alrighty, moving on. Town administrator evaluation process. I don't know if I mentioned it last time, I can't remember. We have the form to submit, but it goes to Christine Purple, so I am transferring the form into another form that we can use. I anticipate it should be ready in a couple weeks. Also giving Michael the opportunity to do a self-evaluation to circulate it, so hopefully within the next couple weeks, we'll be able to both have the self-evaluation and have the Google form where it will populate to an active email address, which would be mine. So if anyone has any questions, feedbacks, concerns about that process or timeline, let me know.
When were we thinking, Julie, for the,
Probably the next couple weeks.
okay,
I expect, can buffer it with another week, so maybe to 2 or 3 weeks, but definitely by the end of November.
okay, and if,
Or not the
I mean,
end, sorry, before, sorry.
And are you, because currently we're down HR, so, I
That's
think
me.
we're doing the lion's share of this work. Have you been taking this on yourself?
Oh, yeah.
All right, is there, I just offer my assistance to help you with it, and I'm
Oh,
sure
thank
other
you.
board members would as well. It's not fair to just put it, we don't have the resource that has normally been doing it for the last couple of years, so if you need any help, I'd be more than happy to help out.
Yeah, it's, throw on a movie and just cut and paste is pretty much what I've been doing. But thank you for the offer, I appreciate that. So we'll get back on track. Also added the 2025 town goals. Michael did circulate the existing goals. So I guess perhaps take a look at these. If you feel we've actually met those goals, we can have them removed. I kind of am wondering if we should streamline it to maybe 2 or 3 that we really feel strongly about, but open for discussion on that.
I
So,
You could probably consolidate,
a few.
like 6 and 7, I think we could probably fit into one of the categories that's already there for 1 through 5.
Yeah,
My only note from reviewing the town goals, and I guess I'm mistaken, I thought at one point in time, one of the objectives we had was like munis related, of like getting munis in, like, up and online. I don't see it in here, so maybe I could just be mistaken, but I think that's something we should consider as a additional objective for the years ahead.
I definitely it was definitely under one of these categories.
I could have sworn it was.
But
It
I
must
think
be
it was,
6?
instead of a specific task, I think it was more of a, I don't have them in front of me, was it like enhancing financial or technology or something? Maybe it was part of that, and that was gonna be a response to it, so. But I agree, I think that now that we've kind of moved on other technology that we've been working on this past year, I think that upcoming year, that should be the focus of the technology impact for the upcoming year, absolutely. And I
Yeah,
did-
so certainly make some notes, you know, add your thoughts. Happy to consolidate them or, and we can continue that process.
You can see what ChatGPT has to.
Yeah, put it into ChatGPT. Yeah. Okay, town administrator report.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of items, just wanted to announce, the Economic Development Office got notice of award for a Safe Streets for All grant, $356,204. There is a match, which brings that up to $445,255. So that would be to develop an action plan and for projects that would be applied for next round. So there is some small demonstration projects to see how you would use this money, like what would, I think Mr. Duffy was looking at, maybe trying out like the lighting under the railroad bridges that he had been talking about, to try to get that in place as part of this money, can be kind of the demonstration project to see how the money would positively impact the community. But the majority of it is for an action plan to put together projects that we would apply for in next round. So, whether it's road constructions or enhancements or you know, different things. Again, it's Safe Streets for All, so it's anything that would, you know, whether it's up in the school area for schools or for bike or runner, pedestrian safety, those type of things, so. The next just announced that I think the senior center director had sent out an invite, but the Massachusetts legislature had gotten an $80,000 earmark in the recent state budget for funding for the Council on Aging Center. So, and the third item, just as everyone can see, the Church Street Chestnut Street project is in progress. They milled the road this week. They're raising the structures tomorrow and Friday, and the paving should take place next week. So October 7th or 8th, I think, is the time frame that they were going to come into town to pave next week. So, you know, have the DPW director confirm that to make sure they get back, but trying to make sure all this paving gets wrapped up for this season before the plants close. So, also, just I did receive an email from one of the neighbors there was a recent fire that displaced some families on Franklin Street, and one of the neighbors whose house was saved that didn't get impacted because the fire was contained so quickly, did send an email thanking the fire department for their quick action and for preserving their property. So we thank them for that. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
On to administrative business. We have a request for a one-day beer and wine license for the Holiday Pops concert, which will take place on December 7th at the Clinton Town Hall.
I'll make a motion to approve the request for the one-day beer and wine license for the Holiday Pops concert, December 7th, 2024.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, why is the terminology wine and malt? I mean, did we have to drink like Old English and Colt 45 at the?
Yeah, I did notice it on the last one.
That's the official ABCC terminology.
Yeah.
Right, fair enough.
It's like a Blue Laws thing.
I guess because it's not only beer, it can be those other malt beverages that included, so.
Fair enough. Bring your own
Have
40.
a malted. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Okay, Ghost and Goblins donation requests. Organizers for the annual Ghost and Goblins 5K Fun Run is requesting donations for their event to take place on October 26th. I don't know if they specified an amount, but I think
I
they
haven't
have.
seen
How much is left in that fund, Mike, do you know?
Yeah, I know.
Because I know we gave quite a bit to the firefighters.
Yeah, so I think that,
We started off, what, 18, or is it?
yeah, I don't have I don't have that report in front of me, but I know a couple of years back that the line item had been allocated, had been increased quite a bit, so I think there hasn't been much. We're just new into the fiscal year, so I don't think there's been
Oh,
much
great.
spent out of it, so.
Great.
I'll make a motion
Okay.
to make a donation to the Ghosts and Goblins 5K fun run of $500. Is that kind of standard?
I feel like that is one of their donation levels. I'm trying to look up online right now.
Just so that is the level, or too much?
I think it is, I'm
Oh.
trying to,
I mean, I don't have any problem with the 5.
Yeah.
I'll second
Yeah.
the
I'll
motion.
second that.
that sounds good. Oh, hold on, donate.
Under discussion, I did see that they mentioned that Sterling Street Brewery is gonna be there. If they want a one-day malt and wine license, they should probably ask for that too, because it's
Okay.
coming up.
I don't know if they do.
Isn't it the end of the month? Yeah.
Okay, well, we got,
They might wanna
I'm sure-
fast track that one.
yeah, 500 is generous for they have $300 Gale sponsor, $100 green gold.
It's for
So we can do, for the boost, yeah, boosters and the,
It's a scholarship.
and a scholarship fund, so I'm sure they'll take our,
I mean, unless someone
500.
wants to amend it, but I'm fine.
yeah,
Oh,
I'm
I
okay.
second
Sounds
it, so
good. Okay.
I'm fine with that.
all right, 500 it is.
Goes to a good cause.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's both boosters and the scholarship fund, so. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0.
Get the malt license requested.
Yeah, I know.
please. If I'm running that race. I'm gonna
Don't
need
they
a
run
beer
it out of
afterwards.
Sterling Street?
No.
No, this
I
is
think
one in Central
one's-
Park. This is the one that goes
Oh.
down by Spruce.
All right,
Kingdom for a flat course in this town.
Where's the
okay.
track?
Look out for, what is it, Monster Hill?
Yeah.
Yeah. Representative to the
Moratorium.
moratorium committee. The planning board petitioned town meeting for a moratorium on any new class 2 dealer licenses in order to review the process for issuing these licenses in Clinton. They are seeking a volunteer from the select board to serve on a committee proposing potential recommendations.
I'll serve on that. I mean, I'm around all day. Is it a
Great.
daytime committee, or, well, I don't really
not
care,
sure.
whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any difference, but.
Thanks, Mary. Anyone else interested, or?
My plate is full.
Okay. Thanks, Mary. Next up is United Way building permit fee waiver. The president of the United Way of Tri-County is requesting consideration for a waiver or reduction in fees of the building permit for construction of the wheat facility on High Street. Go ahead.
So Michael had provided the information that it was approximately $67,000 is what the permit fees would be. There was a contribution made towards the project through the ARPA funds, and I know that the permitting fees help fund the operational costs of that department, and I am not, I'll just make a motion to, unless people want to discuss it ahead of time.
What are we
But
discussing?
I'm
So
not in
it's-
favor of waiving the fees because of what it, we're making a contribution to the project, number one, and number two, those funds, they fund the operation of permitting, and
I
you
would
see the-
second that, and I would just say that I think you're opening up a Pandora's box because that is what keeps and whatever is taken in, it goes into, I believe, the general fund, correct, Michael? Or it goes into a fund, so, I mean, the money is used, I mean, it
Yeah, it's
becomes
part of our
town money,
revenues
so.
we develop the budget on.
Yep.
It's not, yeah, it wouldn't be separate, it's just part of our general,
Yeah, that's
our
what I mean,
general
yeah.
license and permit fee that we bring in.
Are we gonna waive the middle school, fee, or does that wash out?
Yeah, I think,
I know in Bolton, there was a bit of a
yeah, I'm sure,
kerfuffle.
I think I'll have to double check. I'm sure they'll be asking, yeah, if they haven't already, yeah, so because, they'll say that the contractor would just carry that as a line item, so instead of using the money from here, it just goes from here and back again, so, yeah.
But that's
So
town
we're paying our
I mean,
own
that's
fee.
town property, I mean,
Yeah,
I think that's completely different, I mean, that's,
Yeah,
I
so,
look
yeah, with
at
the
it.
middle school, like, we're paying the fee.
what we're paying for it,
For
a
our
percentage
own
of
fee.
it.
Okay,
I think in the past, we waived the school permitting fees.
yeah. Yeah. Any more discussion?
So is the mentality for the request for waiving the fee just because the wheat facility is they help,
Nonprofit.
yeah, nonprofit, and they provide a service to the town, and they provide assistance to families in need and things of that nature? I mean, there's some merit to that. I can understand the Pandora's box argument, but, I don't know, they're providing a service to the town at the same time, so.
But the United Way also has millions of dollars, it's not like it's a, I mean, that's, I just think it's completely, I mean,
And to your point, Ed, that's why this board supported the $500,000 towards that project.
Yeah.
Because of the tremendous value that it adds to the community.
Okay. All those in favor of not waiving the building fee for wheat?
Aye.
aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay.
3-2.
So I'm sorry, Madam Chairman, did that pass or not?
I did
Oh,
pass,
okay.
3-2, sorry.
Sorry.
Letters and boards, a letter to boards and committees to film public meetings. So the cable committee is recommending the letter be sent to all boards and committees indicating that filming public meetings will begin this month. This letter will also advise the need let us know. I was gonna just suggest putting in like a link to the open meeting laws and, oh, here we go, we're live.
We're green.
A link to the open meeting laws and then maybe a little bit more for the like agenda process. Just because we have new people and maybe boards that haven't been meeting too often. I kind of just, if you don't mind us tagging on to your video request.
Yeah, no, so, yeah, just a link to open meeting laws, that's a great,
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
And then just, kind of like the agenda and then request for minutes would be great too.
Yep. Should we read the letter for the meeting, or is it just, it's in the,
I can.
Oh,
Yeah, and it's just in rough draft, but just the concept, sorry, you could read it to see the concept of what it's intending, yep.
Okay. All right, this is the letter to boards and committees regarding expansion of video coverage at Town Hall. Please be aware that starting insert date, First, all town boards, commissions, committees, and subcommittees will be subject to the recording of their meetings by Clinton Community TV. These meetings will be played on the local Comcast channel and on the Community TV YouTube channel. Before a meeting is recorded, the chair will be informed at least 3 days in advance that coverage will happen. The director of Clinton Community TV will be happy to explain how video coverage works. The intent is to inform and educate the people of Clinton. The meeting will be recorded in a way that is not disruptive to the functions of the meeting. Because of staffing issues, not all meetings each month will be covered. All public meetings must comply with the provisions of the Massachusetts Open Meeting Law, add link, and we will add some additional notes about the agenda. We appreciate your understanding and cooperation with this expansion of video coverage. Contact the director, Mark McMinn, for more information and his contact information.
And, Madam Chair, we certainly can expand on that open meeting law
Yeah.
if you want to put more detail in there as well, too. Yeah, but
I feel
just
like we
the-
had a
the
link
the
floating.
intent.
I think Mark provided a link that was pretty comprehensive on what it is. I just
Right.
feel like it might be
The
helpful
manual, guide from the state.
to reiterate that.
And just one thing to note, Madam Chair, is he does make a note that because of staffing issues, not all meetings each month will be covered.
Yeah.
That is a temporary condition. We are in discussions in our meetings to expand the staffing. The end goal is to have all municipal meetings filmed, but to start, because of the limitations on the staffing, not all of them will be able to be filmed.
Right.
You know, I think, so if that, just for kind of a blanket, you know, staffing issues may impact meeting coverage, so even like beyond in the future, right, if that versus,
Right.
you know, just leaves it open-ended.
Okay. I don't know, do we have to vote on that draft or?
I'll make a motion to, or unless, Ed, you wanna?
No, you can make the motion.
I'll make a motion to support, or do we have to make does the motion have to be a directive that like this is to be sent out?
Right.
I'll make a motion that the draft letter be finalized and sent to all committees and boards that serve the town of Clinton to notify them of recording by Clinton Community Television.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the date, and the effective would be just once
Once it's
it's
sent out.
issued.
Immediately. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Assistant Town Administrator position classification, there's a request for the Select Board to discuss increasing the salary classification for the Assistant Town Administrator position.
I think it's appropriate that we take I don't necessarily want to say that we just increase it, but I think it's worth doing a market value salary comparison for some similar towns, just to see where the range of this pay falls for this position. I suspect that it's on the low end, but I'd rather have the data. There's different paths we can take. I don't know if in the past, we have hired that consultant to help us with these municipal job searches. I don't know if that would be an option to reach out to that office to see if they could give us an idea of like where the range for our assistant town administrator salary kind of lines up with towns of our similar size across the Commonwealth. But I think it would be, I don't think anyone can deny the value that position provided for the town. So I just want to take a second look at it and make sure that the pay range is adequate for the responsibilities and the skill set that we're looking for. So we can, I know we're already in the process now of accepting applications, but I'm kind of looking at the long-term sustainability of this position. So I would, my recommendation or my request to the board is that we consider some sort of a salary study to see where our salary range for that position falls into the average of the Commonwealth for some comparable size towns.
Madam Chairman, can I just, I don't know, I just feel like it's jumping the gun, but my concern right now in the town of Clinton, to be honest with you, is not the assistant's position that's been advertised, and my understanding, we are getting applicants. My concern is the treasurer's position, and I think that's where this board should be focused right now. If we're talking about increasing the salary of a position, I think that's the position we should be looking at, because we've gone 2 rounds and we have not been able to get a successful, qualified individual that can step into that position. And that means that position is so important to the town. I mean, it
Madam
means...
Chair, just the point of order,
Hold on.
the discussion is for the assistant town administrator. I'm not against discussing salary for other positions, but that's not what the agenda topic is on the agenda. It's for the assistant town administrator position classification discussion. So I'm more than happy to have a discussion about other positions and salary studies for other positions, but I just like to keep the meeting focused.
We are talking about personnel recruiting and hiring updates. Do you want to just pause
I mean-
and include it there?
I guess so.
I don't disagree, and we can put it on the agenda, because I do think that is an important option too. Or do we kind of talk about the salary of both positions if they're both under, or do we need to
Well,
look at it?
I don't see how it's inappropriate. I mean, it's a position within the town structure.
Yeah, I mean,
I
the
mean, it's-
agenda item is assistant town administrator
okay,
position
whatever.
classification, so. I guess what would be the steps to
Well,
doing
this,
that? I don't-
okay, well, I mean, I'll just bring it up
Yeah.
after this, because it's
No,
old
I
new
just
business,
suggest-
so,
No, I
you
just
know.
suggested you do that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Yeah, like what would be the, I mean, I too have looked into it too, and I do think we do skew. But it would be good to have a, like, objective market analysis.
I mean, I would be willing to at least collect some data to bring back to the board for our next meeting versus, I don't disagree about doing a salary study. The only concern I would have with that is the time, exactly, just the time
Yeah.
of, it just seems to add time. But if, I'd be willing to bring back initial data, and then if the board at that point wanted to do a deeper dive and hire a consultant to do so, then I would be in favor of it. But just for the purpose of expediting it, I would be willing to collect that data.
Madam Chair, do we advertise the salary when we advertise a position?
Yes.
So how would that, I'm not opposed to it, we need somebody in this job, and I just don't know, so that mean
I don't
we
think
would?
it's.
I don't think it has to
Continue,
delay.
Sorry, sorry to interrupt. Go
It's
ahead.
okay.
Well, I
So
guess...
Ed was answering.
Yeah,
Are we under discussion, Madam
I
Chair?
had a question for Ed, though.
I don't necessarily see, I think the two things can happen in parallel. I think we can keep moving with the current job search based on the current salary. But I think we could still do a salary study to see where that salary lands. I mean, it's an important position. Even if we hire somebody, I don't want to hire somebody on a very low end of the scale, because I feel that just leads to a turnstile where people are just constantly looking on to the next job that can get more money. So it's kind of, I think it does us a disservice to just have somebody in this role for like 1 or 2 years, and then because the pay is so low, they move on. So I'm not suggesting that this activity delay the current job search in any way, shape, or form. It's more of just a longer-term approach to making sure that position is sustainable and has, hopefully, whoever is in that role can be in that role for a longer period of time than unfortunately than we had Angela for, just for the sustainability and the consistency of that position.
So just just so I understand, so if we found somebody in the next month and we hired them, but this wasn't done for a couple months, would we then give them a bump, or?
Yeah,
Madam Chairman, just,
I just have one question for Michael. If you're a grade F and we negotiated you at the top of grade F,
Yes.
then what? As you just get cost of living increases?
Yeah, then once you get to the top, every year would be just your salary would go up based on the COLA, yeah.
Madam Chairman, I guess I don't understand this. We're advertising, people are putting resumes in knowing that this is what the job pays. Why in God's name would we be saying right now, we're gonna hire you, but we're gonna give you more money? I mean, it just, I don't
Have we
understand.
looked at the,
I think
have we
it's-
looked
Is
at
that
the
a 6?
candidates?
I mean,
This is a
I
six.
think
I mean, we
so.
did a management plan study
Yeah.
on this, and
I
it
mean, I
fell
think it's
where,
low.
because of the job description, and, I mean,
I-
I don't know, I guess Michael, I mean, this
mean-
person's gonna work for Michael, I'm sorry.
The other point is, you have to look at.
Retention,
Once this position's classified, it's on the grid. The grid is what it is. and
Yeah.
If you max out, then you can't just, unless you then change the grid, and have the grid have a different salary range. So the board itself can't change that range. The personnel board governs that grid. So, I don't know, I'm assuming this position's been classified, it's in an area. If this position's at the max of that area, this board could just arbitrarily say, hey, we're increasing that. The personnel board would have to modify the grid, that's been done in the past. So it's a several-step process.
yeah.
This would be the first step in that process, and after that,
right.
looking at that data and saying, hey, you know what, we may have to change the grid in several areas, you know what I mean? So,
Right.
You know, I think, you know, to that point, there are some things within that, salary grid that, are a little bit perplexing, like, there's a, most of the jumps are approximately like $7,000 per job classification. But once you get from F to G, it ends up going, it's like $15,000. Like, so it seems like there's missing a step in the middle, which is a whole other different conversation to have with the personnel board. But I think at least to be able to look to see, you know, where we are as far as compensation, you know, and then if it's something that the board feels, you know, that they want to endorse and send to the personnel board for their decision, then that's fine. But I, you know, to say that there's applicants that are applying for these jobs, I mean, we don't want someone who, you know, maybe, like many applicants we see for other positions, very few are really qualified for the position or have experience within the position. So to say that we have 50 applicants for the assistant town administrator based upon the salary, I don't necessarily want someone who maybe is a dog walker that is looking to make a transition into being an assistant town administrator. And I think that's something that, to vet the quality of the applicants, and I agree with you wholeheartedly on, you know, I know we're gonna talk about it in a minute, but with the town treasurer position, you know, if that should have been a solution to look at, you know, would we get a better job candidate pool based upon the compensation? And I don't think it has to be one or the other. If that's something that that Mr. Ward and the board wants to discuss as an option for the treasurer position, so be it. But I don't think that, because that didn't happen and now we're being reactive to the assistant town administrator discussion, I just don't think that they're not tied together at all.
Madam Chair, the only question I would just put out is that, I know this was, again, we're melding two agenda items here, but I was gonna give an update that we're looking to move forward on that position. So if the salary was gonna be higher, would it then bring in other candidates that will be locked out if we move forward on the current pool?
Well, can you look to see if there are candidates that you feel like are viable and,
I think currently there would be. Yeah, I mean, again, we haven't gone through the process as to who's still interested, who wants, offer, negotiate. That's a whole, whole nother ball of wax there. But I think there are candidates to move forward on. But if the salary was increased, would then you have another level of candidates that may have applied, So.
Yeah, but I think as Bob just said, it's not that easy to just change the
Well, it's just not our, the personnel board is the one that would have to make the changes. We could issue a,
we could ask.
Yeah, we could ask, we could get the information, we can get the salary study. And I know we're gonna be getting into it in a minute. I feel that we are on the very low end on a lot of critical positions at Town Hall. And I think it's really hurting us long-term. I mean, you look in the last 3-4 years, we've had a facilities manager leave, we've had 2 HR managers leave, we've had an assistant town administrator leave, and I think, I don't really want to speak to the motivations of it, but I think that I think we have been really on the low end, and I think it's a penny wise, pound foolish attitude to have when you're trying to recruit the best and the brightest to manage the affairs of the town.
So, and just to that point, right, if there's someone within that pool that you think is qualified for that job, then, the discrepancy in salary, I can't imagine is gonna be massive, right? So, in my own opinion, right? So if you're closer to the top end of grade F, and the job was to get reclassified at G, then, I can't, I just don't imagine that there's gonna be a huge,
I mean, I think we don't have to rehash old debates, but I think if people that follow town politics remember me and Selectman Colbus weren't really a big fan of that salary study and the way that the different ranges were made and the way the classifications went. So I understand that's what we have, but obviously I think I'm just being consistent with trying to take a second look at it because I really wasn't in favor of it from the get-go. So I think this is the most important position. This is the topic that I'm talking about now, but I am more than willing to immediately after this, if we want to have a discussion about expanding this to other critical roles in the town, I'm very much in favor of that.
I mean, we're really feeling the impact of missing these key critical positions, so I kind of look at it as both planning for the future and having conducted an exit interview with the previous assistant town administrator who was paid at the top of that scale. I think we have to kind of do these two things at once, like try and fill these positions ASAP, but also too, like look at the long-term viability of, it costs us money to replace people. It's not advantageous for like me to be doing HR or us to be doing social media. Like, this is not how we kind of like want to be more professional. So when I think of that, like, I don't disagree about other positions too. They're very important, but in looking at kind of holistically the salaries of our employees, like this one feels a little skewing on the low. So I guess I don't think it would hurt to look into it and see, are we competitive? As I said, turnover costs us money, so we are probably paid for this already, to be honest. We're falling behind. This person left in July, our HR person left in April. John Kittredge gave us plenty of notice, we still can't find his position, figure out his position. We have other people in that office, we need to fill their positions, like, we have to move forward.
and not for nothing, aside from the retirees, every person who's left here, aside from, I believe, one, has continued on to another municipality. Nobody has left the town of Clinton to go into the private sector, right? One went to Fitchburg, one went to Marlboro, one went to Natick. So that comes back to retention, right? So not only is it recruiting to get a quality candidate within a pool, it's also retaining our
Right.
employee.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
my intention was to eventually ask for a motion to approve a salary study, but in light of this recent discussion, I have no problem with waiting and then discussing a more holistic approach that would take a look at multiple positions, not just the assistant town administrator.
Okay. All right, so, and if anyone else would like to do their own independent research outside of that, they're welcome to do that as well.
What's gonna play with the personnel board? If we just do our homework, does that count, or do we need to actually do a real big boy salary study? Because, again, I don't wanna waste anyone's time here or burn another 3 months only to have to re-advertise these things. Like, what's the bar we have to get over to make real change?
I thought, I might be misunderstanding, but I thought the game plan was we're moving forward with the interviews, with the pay scale as is, but this is, I mean, what we're talking about is something that's gonna be affecting us long-term. To Madam Chair's point, these positions are open and desperately needed, so I don't think anyone is suggesting that we wait another 3-4 months to do a salary study. I think we just have to make do with what we have. It's not ideal. I have really never been in favor of it, of the salary scale for some of these positions, but it's what we have right now, and we can't wait another 3-4 months. But I do think it's two things going on. One's short-term, hire people. One's long-term, take a look, compare ourselves. Where do we stand on like market value in the Commonwealth for these positions? Just to make sure we're not, we could do it ourselves. I just feel like that's, you know, if we do it ourselves, and it's always gonna be an accusation that somebody skewed it one way or the other. I just feel like if we have an independent entity do the salary study for us, and salary studies shouldn't take that long. I mean, a lot of internet services can get you most of the way there pretty quickly anyway. But so I don't think it should be an extremely long turnaround time for it. But I think it's important that we do it.
Okay.
So your idea, Ed, is to fill this position now, and that you want to look at the future.
Yeah, right. My position is just keep going with, you know, what we have. It ain't perfect, it's not good, but it's just what we have for now, and just keep moving with that. But at the same time, identify critical positions in the town that we suspect might be on the low end range of what the market value is for those municipal positions.
Is that your motion?
I don't think I need to make a motion right now, because in light of this discussion, which I don't disagree with, that instead of just the assistant town administrator, it can be to multiple positions. I can talk with the Madam Chair between meetings and anyone else that wants to be involved in this initiative, and we can try to kind of flesh it out a little bit more on like which positions we think we would like to see, which positions we've had difficulty filling or we think are on the low end that we would want to include in the salary study, and then come back to the board for a discussion about it. So I'm not planning on making a motion tonight.
All right, next up, scheduling of joint meeting with Finance Committee to discuss the fiscal year 2026 budget process. Apologies, their date is not in here, I don't think. But they were requested our availability for Tuesday, November 12th at 6 p.m. And I wanted to see if anyone is available at that point.
I'd be available and I'd be interested.
Yep, me too.
Okay. Does that work for all?
Yeah, so far.
Yeah, and Madam Chair, what's
Yeah.
the purpose of the meeting again?
It is for, to input and discussion for the upcoming fiscal year budget process.
Okay.
What time is this
So-
meeting?
They asked if we would be available at 6.
That's our off week?
It's a Tuesday anyway.
Tuesday.
But, yeah, so.
It is not, oh, yes, it is an off week. We have a
Okay.
meeting on the 6th and the 20th in November. So, does that work
You
for
you
everybody?
need it later, Sean?
Yeah,
That's
we can
fine.
negotiate it.
Well, I mean, I don't think that is
I can
6:30
make-
better?
I can make 6.
Oh,
Thank you.
I was going to say, I don't think a half an hour would make any difference to them.
All right, well, I will let them know. Okay, personnel recruiting and hiring update.
And just to kind of see where we're at. First, with HR, the search committee has met. They have come up with an interview list So they'll be moving forward with interviews for those positions there. I know they did present a list for myself and Dr. Meyer to review, so I think we're going to try to at least start with the first 8, if that's not too many. I know we haven't gotten much feedback, but I think there were 13 names out of the bundle that came in. And we're going to maybe start with 8 and then go from there. So we'll be setting up those interviews shortly.
So can I ask a question? So is that 8 with a committee of people or just with you and Dr. Meyer?
It's with the committee, so the search committee that have done the initial vetting of the resumes, the search committee, they'll then come up with the short list for myself and Dr. Meyer to meet with. So out of that 13, to try to get it down to 3 or something, that we could then sit with.
So you gave them 8?
No. They gave us everybody,
Yeah,
including a
everyone.
custodian, by the way. So.
Like 45 or so, yeah.
It was not vetted at all. So we went down and got it to 13, again, with a low bar, because I think our charge was a little murky. We weren't sure what qualifications were must-have or like to have. So if there's something that,
Yeah,
if
that's
there's
what
any kind of
my point.
funnel you want to put us through to winnow this down, we're happy to get the 13 to whatever you want. We also weren't sure, since this was advertised over the summer, maybe some people have moved on. So we figured we'd cast a wider net to start out with, and then if there was more feedback, we're happy to take that feedback. I don't think any of us is interested in doing 13 interviews
Yeah.
with these people.
Even 8 is excessive.
It's a
Yeah.
lot. If they're an hour each, that's,
Do you think that since you know what we need, I mean, no disrespect
oh,
to
please.
the committee, and Dr. Meyer need, can you look at the 8?
Top 5.
And yeah, I mean, that would be very hard to, I think, coordinate interviews with outside people, you two, and a committee.
Yeah.
So in looking at those, if they've kind of said, I think this is what you want, and based
we
on
had
our
a-
knowledge, I mean,
We had a chart, but it
I
wasn't
was on the
like,
previous committee, so I kind
Okay.
of know what the drill
Yeah.
was originally.
Right.
But like, I mean, we're kind of looking for also you to weigh in, not just what these people think is appropriate.
Yeah, I
Does
think
that make sense?
The
Sure it
13 that were submitted, myself, Dr. Meyer looked at them, we felt that there weren't any that would require disqualification. So out of those 13, and again, we can go back and discuss it, but, I didn't know if the committee was looking then to conduct some interviews to get a better sense of, instead of just a paper screening, to do some initial in-person interviews with those 13, but not 13, maybe too many to bring in. But that's why, talking with Dr. Meyer, we thought, well, maybe 8, we can get it down to 6, if so. The hope was the screening committee would bring us a top 3, that we would then do a second interview, and then we would bring those in and pick from those 3. So,
okay.
I just feel like this is flip-flopped.
I'm not opposed to
as
doing
who-
whatever is needed of us. We just didn't get that
No, I agree.
charged for 3.
No, I'm not saying that you're trying to, but like,
I know what you're saying, Julie. It
Right?
seems to me that if you
feels
got
the
down to
opposite.
5, or
Yeah.
even to 5, and that they became totally involved, because that person's going to be working directly
Yeah.
for both of them.
and I think you are more subject
Yeah.
matter experts on what is needed for that position. And my memory's kind of failing me, because I do remember being a part of a maybe 2, 3, maybe at the most, interview panel of the final candidates. So it was like reviewing all the resumes, saying, obviously, 60% of these are not qualified, and then whittling it down to like the top 10, and then whittling it, but like, I mean, even as my position here, we're not here day to day. You know what is needed, so I just feel like waiting for the screening committee to let you know feels just like we need to flip-flop that.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
On that point, I think this is where you're going. I mean, I think committees are great when you're dealing with like 50, 60, 70 applicants, because it's not fair to ask like 1 or 2 people to go through all of them. But if we're down to, we're 13, right? I mean, committees are great, but they're also cumbersome, and
Yeah.
it's tough to coordinate them, and we're kind of in crisis mode. I mean, I think that town administrator and Dr. Meyer are intelligent enough, have enough experience to figure out who's the best candidate for the job out of 10 or 13 applicants. I mean, that's not, I mean, my recommendation would just be, let them make the decision on these last, I really don't see the need in a committee screening even further. I think that they would be, I think it'd be easy for them to make a decision on the remaining applicants.
I mean, the committees have value, right? There is value. The major issue that we have right now is you're reviewing resumes that we received in July. So that whole thing is gonna create a conundrum by itself. And, you know, when you look at, you know, typically the interview committees that I've been involved with, you know, the screening committee has the criteria, that has the job description, and then they match that up based upon, okay, let's look at the candidates who we want to interview, and then they hand off the 5 candidates to the hiring party, and then they do the final hiring of it. But it just creates a process that's transparent. It creates a process that, of, you know, a group trying to arrive at who are the most qualified candidates based upon the job description. So it's not that they're blind going into it. But, you know, I think the biggest issue that, you know, I agree with the sense of urgency, but 8 interviews is way too many. And
No one's suggesting that.
I'm not saying you were, I'm not talking directly to you at this point, but like, we should probably have, you know, as was mentioned, if you and Dr. Meyer look at who you're interested in, someone needs to call them to see if they even want the job.
Right.
And then before we even, if they're still available, and then from there, compile your own list and move it forward. But I think when the timeline is correctly managed, then committees, there is value in the committee. But I think based upon where our backs are against the wall, I agree. Skip the committee and,
Can I just, I'm not trying to put anyone on the spot or throw anyone under the bus, but like, if we had these resumes in July, why are we not doing final, I mean, it's October. So what was how many applicants, first of all, what position are we talking about right now? This is human resources. So because I'm losing track of that. So we've had, how many applicants were there total? 13?
50.
No,
50,
40,
all right, so it's
45,
down,
50.
all right, 50-ish, so it's just down to like 13-ish now, all right. I mean, that's still, I understand going through 50 applicants, that's a lot, but, I mean, I think every meeting we talk about how we're in the crisis mode, and it doesn't seem like, I don't know why it's taking
So
so
certainly,
long.
if we don't want to offend the search committee, but if the search committee felt that they've done a good screening, then myself and Dr. Meyer can take those shortlist and move forward on those, if that's what the intent was for the screening.
We just weren't sure if there was like a Zoom chat level before, like, to me, I don't know, when I have an in-person interview, I think we're getting close to
Yes.
closing the deal.
Right.
Like, we're hiring like a very low-level position in my place, and we had, you know, a couple weeks of Zoom interviews, and then had 3 people come in that are like the final 3. But I don't think, I think we could, I don't know, I don't know what people want to do here. We just,
We gotta be quicker.
I just
well,
want to move
okay,
it forward.
listen, we got through these things in a night, so.
Well, I guess so I think can we kind of maybe put some benchmark timing on this? Like, you have the recommendation of the committee.
Yep.
So how many days do you think it will take to either stack rank these people by who you're interested in the most, and maybe just start with the first 5?
See
and
who's still
call them
breathing.
up?
I mean, I
What?
don't even, let's see who's still breathing.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and just call them and say, are you still interested, and do a Zoom screener?
Yeah, absolutely. That can happen tomorrow. We can have my office reach out to those tomorrow and find out who is still interested. It's just, if the in-person screening is going to be done by the committee or myself and Dr. Meyer. So if we could just take it from there, we can move on it quickly, or to have the committee meet next week and do a screening.
Sounds like the
Yeah,
committee is
happy
stepping
to-
aside.
I don't
and
want to
now-
speak for the entire committee,
I
but
mean, I have to say, I agree with Eddie. At this point, I think just the two individuals that this
Yes.
person's going to be basically working on a daily basis, go ahead, make the hiring.
yeah.
That's,
And
I
just,
mean-
to be clear, on one thing, were you being serious when you said you went through these in a night, or was that like exaggeration? So we went
I'm not
from
exaggerating at all.
No.
So we went from 50 down to 13 in one day of work of the applicants?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
what,
so then why are we here? What has been going on since then?
That was 2 weeks ago.
Well,
okay, so that's right. So like, I think, like you said, okay, so tomorrow, we
Yeah.
can get this done, and then,
Yeah,
like I said, it doesn't have to be all 8 of, I mean, I feel badly if you reach out to people and just say, hey, are you still interested? Because then they have a hope that they might actually get the job, so I would just start
hey,
with
it might
5.
just wind up being from 13 to 5 anyway.
Yeah, right, precisely.
So, but I mean, just,
Precisely.
I think we've done enough
I get-
talking, just looking
Yeah,
at all.
I mean,
that's-
I just am saying, like, I think, I don't know how, like, the weeks turn into months, but like, I don't know, do we need like artificial deadlines? I'm just trying to like,
yeah, no.
Well,
I
summer
mean,
is
we-
tough
if-
too,
if-
you know,
if
we've
we
got
don't-
people on
It is, but-
vacation.
If we don't have any
and-
search committees, we can move on it right away in all these positions that we're gonna be talking about here. That it can get, we have all the resumes in now, we can start moving forward.
so the search committee was the whole holdup here.
No,
No, I
it wasn't
wouldn't say
a
that.
holdup, it was just a matter of going through that process. So it was advertised in July, it was getting the advertised closing, compiling the resumes, getting to the search committee and having them a chance to go through it. And then since then, it was, okay, I guess maybe it was more, maybe a mission on what the search committee, what we've done in the past is search committees review the resumes, they do initial interviews, and then they submit shortlists to for second interviews for department head. Now, if we do a staff position, we do one interview. So we just do a short list, we bring in people for one interview, and that's it. But department head, it's usually 2 interviews that we generally do.
Okay.
So, so I guess, we could have been better on kind of giving that direction. So.
And I think that's where, like, department heads, like, I know it's costly using consultants, and I know there wasn't really much luck with the treasurer, using a consultant for the treasurer, but that's, the consultant they're the ones that manage the whole process, and they're the ones that kind of whittle down based upon their professional opinion, like, here are the people that are worth looking at, and then from there you can kind of rank, and then you can then build out your interview list. But, as far as the assistant town administrator position, are we looking at a committee for that? Because I think that's something that should move quickly, and I think there's value
We
in
don't
it.
have a
I
search
thought Mike
committee
was
yet?
just doing that.
No.
No, we're talking about the
How
human
do we do
resources.
it?
No, I thought the assistants, that Mike was gonna do that.
I just,
I mean, I just don't see why we need committees for everything. I would,
I agree.
I mean, like, for the assistant that's gonna be working directly with Michael, I mean, why does he need a committee to filter who ultimately is gonna be giving him names of people to ultimately interview?
we used a committee the last time, and it worked
No,
out
but I'm
phenomenally.
just saying, I know you did, but I'm just saying, I don't really see the need for it. I mean, we're talking about getting these people into position, and I really think that because of the time element, let's move
Well, I
forward,
do,
so.
I do feel like, why don't you make like a first pass at the assistant town administrator ones? And if the 2 weeks we decide that there should be a committee, we're not really losing steam on that, but like, this is something that, I don't know, like, we do have to, I think, make some movement here.
Just to reiterate, I do think there is value in a committee just because you have 5 people that can go through like 50 applications and
For the record.
But they all
however
go
many
through the
there are in
same
it.
ones, they're going duplicate, they're all doing the same ones. It's not like divide and conquer.
It used to be. That's
Yeah.
the way we used to do
When we
it.
did the HR one, we all looked at the same 150-page PDF
Ah, well,
and
that's
went through
That's
and
not very,
said,
that's
these are.
not very efficient. I think
As I
it's,
say, there's different
It's the way to
committees, there's
do it.
different way to do
It's
it.
the-
That's-
you have
because-
5 sets of eyes looking at the same applications coming, and then typically what you would do is you would rank, what's your top 10, you compare the top 10
We
rankings,
could,
and
we
then
could
you
have
go from there.
we could have a
Most of the
debate
time
about
they
that.
align.
I'm telling you, when I've been on search
100%.
committees, the applicants were divvied up to the different people, and then they came back with
That's
like their.
crazy. That's crazy.
Well, I mean,
It worked a hell of a lot quicker
Madam
than this
Chairman,
thing.
can we just
We
get
took
this,
2 hours.
resolve
Yeah,
this, like,
all
like,
right,
you
so
know?
I don't know, can we just put like together a time, because we also have, I mean, are we resolved in the town collector's office? We have a couple openings there.
Right, that, we just had the staff position was just 2 weeks, so that one we want to move on very quickly to get that position up and running, so.
Okay, what does very quickly mean?
Has that been advertised already?
Yeah, it's been advertised, it's been 2 weeks out, which was the bylaw requires a minimum of 2 weeks, so that was last Friday. So those, we can start by the end of this week or by Monday to start contacting people to come in. That's more of a staff position. I don't think we need a committee for that position in order to move faster on that one there. Generally, we just have the department head and myself that are involved in the staff positions, and then generally department head positions where we have committees that review them, so.
You know, just to kind of point out right now, you have the building inspector, you have a collector, you have a treasurer, you have an assistant town administrator, you have human resources. It would, if we're all saying that Michael is gonna be the one that navigates through this whole thing, I think there's a lot of work there. And, you know, with the assistant town administrator position that the posting just closing, it would be very easy to move very quickly on that and focus on the other ones that have been hanging out there for the last 60 to 90 days.
All right, Mike, last question, not to beat this dead, broken down horse any more than we have been tonight, because we've been on this for a while, but when was the applicants for the HR position, when was that closed? The date that was closed approximately?
Probably the beginning of August, probably.
Okay. All right, so then, you know, I just, 2 months should be enough time from the time that's closed to finalizing a candidate. And I know it's nobody's fault, I think we're just, I guess, trying to do things the way that we've always done them, or maybe, I don't know I don't know, but I just, there's no reason, we have to move faster and find a better, efficient way to use these committees, so they're helping us and not delaying the process.
I mean, I would say in previous ones, we just haven't had so many open positions simultaneously, so it's, maybe we had the luxury of a little bit more time, or I feel like
That's
now
true,
we
too.
we
But
just,
Exactly,
we
exactly.
do not,
We generally have
maybe?
one off, not 5 positions.
Agreed.
Yeah,
You know,
right,
because
like,
the
that's
search-
really bad.
The other
But
thing
we should
that.
have different search committees for each position, right? It's not the same 3 people.
Right. So the other thing to keep in mind too is that the time that from the position became, when we were notified that the person is going to be leaving, to when the job was posted. Because sometimes even that can be upwards of 30 to 45 days, if not more. So that's adding into the timeline. There's no reason why, as soon as we get the notice, the job couldn't be posted within 2 weeks, and once that's closed, there's no reason why you couldn't have someone hired from anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks after that period. You just gotta move quickly,
Right.
and we're not.
Just to be clear about, I want to defend my fellow committee members here. We were asked on the 10th for our availability. We met on the 17th,
The 10th of
September
September.
10th.
Right,
We were asked
so-
for our availability.
okay, so
We met
then
on
there-
the 16th or 17th. We gave them the 17th. We met at 6 o'clock. By 8 o'clock, we were done.
So August 1st is closed, you guys don't get asked to come together as a committee until September 10th.
I'm
So
just
there's-
telling you what I got in my
Right,
mailbox.
so there's the gap.
And there's gap on the front end.
Yeah, because the position was vacant in April.
So maybe we should take a look at trying to formalize a process for new hires, how to utilize a committee, the expectations for how quickly committees should be notified, how quickly jobs should be posted, because it just seems like there's no one person really overseeing this, and we're not using the consultant for any of these anymore, right? So maybe that's why some of the other, like the first time we did the assistant
No, we
assistant
did it
town
for the
administrator
treasurer, for
search.
the treasurer.
Yeah.
There was a consultant helping us in that search, right?
Yeah.
So you have like that one person that's like constantly coordinating, keeping an eye on everything. We definitely, I think that's what's missing this time around, is we don't have we don't have that figure that's kind of overseeing the
Or
entire process.
HR would be, when Christine was here, she would coordinate all.
Correct, right. So, yeah, you're absolutely right, Mike. It's a catch-22. Like, the position we're trying to fill is the position that would be helping us fill these other positions. So
But
So
these
we gotta
positions-
prioritize personnel.
But even on the treasurer's position, okay?
Yeah.
That was advertised twice. So
Yeah.
the consultant that had it the first time didn't want any part of it the second time. So we had to find a different consultant for the second time. And even the second consultant said that because it's such a specialized position, there aren't that many qualified people going into government. So, I mean, I think definitely when you're talking about, and again, you can't go back and do it right now. It's something that you have to adjust in the future. But definitely, I think the money issue on that position is something that you definitely have to consider.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it is such a specialized position.
Yeah.
They don't consider HR specialized, even though I do, I think it is, and the assistant's position. But again, the town was just hit with, never before, in my time, in 26 years, never, I mean, if we had one person in 5 years that left, that was exceptional.
Yeah.
But 5 in the span of 6 months is a tremendous amount of personnel to try to get back into place.
Which is Exhibit A in why we need to take another look at our salary ranges, because I think that that's a big contributor to it. I don't think we don't have stability because we're so on the low end that people just see the grass is greener and they're gone. Once they get a couple years' experience, there's no reason to stay here for the pay that we're handing out to some of these positions. But, you know,
I don't disagree, but not to go through all these, to relitigate why people left, I'm not sure that's the blanket. I definitely don't agree, I mean, don't
It's a
disagree.
factor.
But.
yeah,
again,
there's other things, yeah.
Yes.
But that's a big one.
We're not the only town experiencing.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
It's across the state. People just aren't wanting these government jobs. So, yeah, we're struggling with it. But I'm telling you, all our other clients, they're all struggling with it too, all the municipalities. They have a tough time filling positions. The pool is getting smaller and smaller. I just think,
That's right.
the younger generation aren't, or for whatever reason, don't want to go into these positions.
Because they don't pay enough.
I know, I wonder why. I know.
But in the past, it
That's
wasn't
why
that
it's
problem.
I mean, we have to change the way we are
Right.
doing things, like we have to
Absolutely.
kind of.
It's imperative that
relook at this.
our processes are, they gotta be on point. And it seems like right now, I understand HR is not here, but we were hiring people without HR at one point. So
Yeah.
like, we have to tighten that up. It has to be one after the other, move quickly, and ideally you have someone hired within 45 days of their initial, notice of resignation. There has to be a goal there.
So Michael, do you feel like there's any, what blockers are in front of you to hiring, to moving these candidates forward, to filling these positions? I know it's time consuming, but I think it has to be priority number
No,
one.
I agree, but I think as of now, there are resumes for these positions, so we can move forward. So I
Okay.
think, I'm ready to start setting up interviews as long as, again, that, people, committees or people want to do this or want to do that. It's just, there's a lot of resumes. I've been looking at them, going through them as they come in. So I certainly am willing to, even like building inspector, we only got 5 names and 2 are qualified. So I don't think, you need to set up a committee to go through, 2 people. So, 2 people that have the license, because we're looking for someone with the license. So I think on these type of positions, I think they are ready to start interviewing people right now.
So
Madam
maybe just-
Chairman,
maybe
instead
just-
of going
yeah.
on for
Yeah,
another
maybe-
hour,
yeah.
let's just
Maybe
let him
just
go ahead.
yeah.
I'll move that Michael go ahead with the open positions.
Yeah.
Right, and just to, Mike's just doing it the way that we've traditionally done it with committees, so I think all Mike is probably looking for from the committees is just a blessing to move forward by himself, because I just think he doesn't want to step on anybody's toes if there was a committee formed to review these things. So I think as long as the committees give Mike the blessing to move ahead, I don't think he'll have any problem hiring somebody in a timely fashion.
Well, Madam Chairman, I did make a motion. I don't know if I got a second.
Oh, sorry.
I'll second.
My motion was to have
Move
Michael
on.
move forward with the.
Yeah,
appoint-
okay.
yeah.
I second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Okay. All right. Anything else under old and new business? All right, we'll move to committee reports.
Sure, I just want to take a moment to express gratitude to the following people for assisting with Old Home Day and making it the weekend that it was. I'd like to thank the Clinton High School Student Council. They did a phenomenal job with helping to organize as well as recruit volunteers. I'd like to thank the Clinton Athletic Boosters for also assisting with the vendors on Saturday, dropping off, helping them unload and set up. The Clinton High School field hockey team, they were phenomenal. They have it down, and there were several emails that I had received afterward, just applauding how well that whole unloading process went based upon the vendors' experiences in other places. I'd like to thank the Clinton Fire Department for filling the dunk tank for the student council and actually repairing it. It had a leak. I'd like to thank Chair Julie Peru. She was super helpful on Saturday morning in helping direct and organize and help, made things run so much more smoothly. Rob Gutierrez from Facilities Department was on staff. He was phenomenal. He was running around left and right. There you can imagine everybody making demands, and Rob kept up with everything. He was great. Friday night, there was a plumbing issue at the town hall, which Brian Farrager and Dan Bellevue jumped in. So Mr. Gutierrez noticed it, called in Brian and Dan, and they were here late at night on Friday repairing the issue. And fortunately, we had members of the DPW who were also here, Ryan Craffey and Anthony Millette. So as soon as this happened, then they jumped into crisis mode, and they were a huge assistance to resolving that issue that day. And Pleasant View Potties made an emergency drop-off because we no longer had the facility available. I'd like to thank Mr. Ward and Joyce Corbacero for all the help with getting all the paperwork processed and the deposits and all that. And then finally, the DPW, they cleaned up immediately after the event ended on Saturday. So the good news is, I'm looking forward to the 25th annual Old Home Days, which is gonna be next Friday, September 5th, and Saturday, September 6th. I've actually started already reserving tents and all that, so looking forward to having another great year, and the weather held out, which was awesome. But there was a lot that went into it, and a lot of people that made that day as special as it was, so thank you.
Madam Chair, I'd like to add Mr. Kovas to that list. I mean, it's not an easy job, as everybody knows, and I was there Friday, my family was there Saturday, it was a blast. So really, congratulations. It was a terrific event, and you deserve a lot of credit.
Good job, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The cable committee got together last week, so that letter that we read was part of the meeting. The other part was just working with the schools, so the encouraging, there is kind of like the people that have been involved with us have been great, but there is a little bit of new blood, new teachers that are involved that really want to grow this collaboration with the town, and they're really excited, and we had a really good discussion, and I'm really looking forward to kind of expanding the content that we can provide with the help of the schools, and they've had discussions about actually incorporating our Mark McKim into some of their digital media classes and showing the kids, teaching them how to best kind of make the videos for the channel. So it's pretty exciting, and we're looking forward to a lot more content with support from the schools.
And we're still looking for dog committee, dog park people. We've got three great volunteers so far, but we'd love more. There's plenty of work to do. So I'll put up one more call before we have our first meeting. Hit me up on Facebook or at skerrigan@clintonma.gov.
Thank you. Lastly, community announcements. Just want to remind everyone that Tuesday, November 5th, 2024 is an election day, and early voting is scheduled to begin on Saturday, October 19th. Wow, butchering this. Saturday, October 19th, here in Clinton. So for additional information, you can visit clintonmass.gov in the town clerk's office for early voting information. We'll also push that out on social media as well. So get out and vote, friends. I think that's it for today. A motion to
I'll
adjourn?
make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.